Hi and welcome back to the pod. Today we're talking about a 27-year-old winger from League Slip called Olamide Shodipo. Born 5th of July 97 in League Slip, he moved to London age 2 with his family. Started playing in all earnest when he joined the youth ranks of QPR in 2012 as a 14-15-year-old. He excelled in their academy, and 4 years later he made his senior debut as an only 19-year-old. On the 7th of August 2016, they were in the Championship at the time, second tier in English football. So he's playing at a very high level at only 19 in one of the best leagues in the world. It was a 3-0 win as well over Leeds. To note, his debut wasn't a token few minutes at the end of a match that sometimes happens for players' debuts, especially in big leagues and big teams like that. No, it was a starting role. He started the match, and it was at the start of the season as well, so it wasn't just at the end of the season throw a few young lads in. So yeah, it was a marker of how much he was thought of by QPR. Also, the manager at the time was the legend Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. So he's mixing with top quality people, and he's got the respect of a top quality ex-pro manager. So by November he signed a new 2.5 year deal, keeping him at the club until 2019. So again, highly thought of as a future star, current star. And from his debut on the 7th of August until January, so 7th of August 2016 until January 2007, he made 11 appearances. So he was regular first team member in and around the first team, on the bench, getting minutes. So, he was an up and coming star for them. When not playing, he was nearly always on the bench, and 11 appearances in that short time for a guy that's just broken into the first team at such a high level. It's clear he's going places and he's highly respected by the manager and the club. However, a new manager came in, and as happens, he wasn't in the new manager's immediate plans. Holloway, I believe, was the new manager. And therefore, in January 2017, he went on loan to Port Vale, who were the league below, so the third tier, League One in England. Still a great spot for a 19-year-old to be, although he himself would have been disappointed that his great start to his QPR career came to an abrupt halt through no fault of his own. Just different manager, different philosophy, and the pressure of coming in and trying to get results straight off the bat. So not a terrible spot for him to be in. Still very much in the plans of QPR, but yes, for him in his own mind, and it would have been a small setback at the time. In all, he turned out 6 times for Port Vale, and there would have been more appearances had he not been ruled out for the rest of the season with injury he picked up while, unfortunately, on international duty with Ireland's under-21s in March of 2017. So he didn't really get going on that loan spell either. It was cut short with injury. Over the next few years, he made several other loans to League One and League Two. Just one move to League Two. Kept coming back, playing on and off for QPR in between those loan spells. Had more than his fair share of injuries, it has to be said, but most tellingly kept getting contract extensions a couple of times. So it was clear he was highly thought of by QPR. For example, the QPR director of football, who was another legend, Les Ferdinand, he also, thought highly of him. So it's clear his loan spells were Colchester United, League Two, 6 appearances. Oxford United, League One, which was a fairly prolific spell for him. He had 39 appearances, 10 goals. Sheffield Wednesday, League One, 15 appearances, 1 goal. Again, injuries limited his playing time there, but he was really sought after by that manager, who had to plead his case to get him there. So, Lincoln's, you can just see that, is highly thought of by professionals, ex-professionals, managers, clubs. Lincoln City then was his last loan spell while he was on the books of QPR. 20 appearances, 2 goals, following which unfortunately he was released by QPR at the end of his contract in July 23. It's clear that injuries were the reason his QPR career didn't materialise to the level he would have hoped and they would have hoped, and that's why it ended at QPR. Also clearly had the talent, but just terribly unlucky with so many injuries. And a lot of clubs wouldn't have stuck with somebody for so long with such a bad record of injuries. But the fact they even stuck with him for so long shows how highly they thought of him. He was without a club for a few months after he left QPR, which must have been a low point for the now 26-year-old. He did join Lincoln City again on a permanent basis, but on a short-term contract on the 6th of October until the 5th of January, turning out 6 times and 1 goal. Reason it was a short-term contract was he was cover for 2 of their injured players, and those players were on longer term contracts. So although he did turn out 6 times out of 17, he was on the bench too for a lot of those, but other factors would have come into play. Firstly, he would have really had to play above and beyond to outdo the 2 players they already had on the books. He's on a short-term deal, so he's already, fighting against it, because even if the 3 of them are at the same level, they're going to go, well, we can't keep all 3, so we'll have to get rid of one of them, and who's going to be the cheapest one to get rid of? It's going to be the one on the short-term contract, which in this case was Mide. So, he's up against it. Also, he's not match fit when he joined, so that would have been against him as well. Like, he joined in October, so it's well into the season at that stage, 2 months into the season. So he's 2 months behind everybody else, even 3 months, because the pre-season, he wouldn't have had a pre-season either. Although he would have been keeping fit, he's, takes 2-3 months, depending on how long you're out, longer even, to get back into it. So, he really would have only been getting back to where he should have been in August, in January. So, he's fighting an uphill battle from the minute he went there, and it's through no fault of his own as well. Also, again, because they had 2 players on longer contracts, even if they thought he was playing better than them, they couldn't get rid of them. So, they're not going to spend above and beyond their needs. So they're going to give opportunities to the guys that they're stuck with, regardless of whether they want them or not. Anyway, so it's in their interest to get those guys back up and running as soon as possible, give them the opportunities to get back into the team and to play at the highest level while they have someone else there, because, they could have given them another short-term contract, but if they don't have to spend that money, they're going to try and save money. Again, nothing to do with him as a player, just from a purely business point of view. So in that sense as well, he wouldn't have been getting as many. I'm sure they gave him opportunities, but it wouldn't have been a level playing field. I'm saying he wouldn't have got the same opportunities that those 2 players would have got, because they know they have to stick with them regardless of the outcome. So he is a short-term measure, and really to dislodge them, he would have had to play out of his skin, and that's fine, he could have done it, but the fact he's fighting against match fitness and sharpness, it would have been very, very tough for him to go in there in October after being released from QPR. He's taken that dent in confidence. He's not match fitness. He's not match fit. So, he's coming from far behind. It's a very uphill battle, and then again, they're going to give those guys the more rub of the green and favour them, because they have to stick with them regardless anyway. So, yeah, he didn't get a long-term contract at the end of it, and he left on the 5th of January. Again, he's still only, at that time, 5th of January this year, that is, 24. Again, he's still only 26 at that stage, but still, he is 26, so it's a crossroad in his career, and in the space of 6 months, he's without a club again for the second time. It's going to hit anyone's confidence. You're going to be questioning yourself. It's a tough place for anyone to be. But he didn't give up and decided to go further afield, broaden his horizons club-wise. It was clear at QPR Championship side for so long, he had the skill set to succeed. He was highly thought of and he could do it on the field. The only reason things didn't pan out for him in his career to date at that stage was because of his injury problems. And that happens to everyone, but again, he did get more than his fair share of them. So just weeks after leaving Lincoln on the 30th of January this year, 24, he made the exciting move to Portugal with a second tier side, CD Feirense, on what I believe is a 1.5 year deal. So he has a year left now until the 30th of June 25. To date, he has played 14 times out of 17 games with 2 goals in the end of the season, and he was involved in all their matches since his arrival, with the exception of 3 games, 2 back-to-back, so maybe a minor injury there ruled him out there. Of those 2 games, he was on the bench for one, I think, and he wasn't in the squad at all for the second one. So it's been a fairly successful start to his career at Feirense. Feirense finished the season in 16th position, so they went into a relegation playoff, and they won over the 2 legs, so they stayed in the second tier, the Liga Portugal 2, and he played in both of those legs. Feirense played the first game of the season last weekend, the weekend just gone, 11th of August. He wasn't in the squad, so perhaps maybe just, don't know the reason, but perhaps maybe a niggling injury just kept him out of that one. But I'm sure he'll be back. Internationally, he has represented Ireland at under 19s, under 21s, and a combined 10 times with 1 goal, mixed in good circles in those squads. So he will know, of course, where and with whom he belongs and what level he belongs, because he'll see where those players are, and he'll know, yeah, listen, I did as well or better than some of them, so yeah, I should be there too. Must be frustrating, but he will get there. He's also eligible for Nigeria, and you'd imagine England through residency as well. So all he has to do now is do it on the pitch, get week in, week out football, focus on the now, and the rest will fall into place as the skill set is clear to see for everyone. He's going to maybe think otherwise, but it is a great place to be for the now 27-year-old. Obviously, things in life for all of us could work out better in hindsight, but it is where he is now. You're living in the present, and for a 27-year-old, it's not a bad place to be. He could extend his stay at Feirense at the end of the season, could move to a bigger club in Portugal, who, if he does well there, of course, there'll be people, he'll be in the view of big clubs in Portugal, which will be great for him as well. You know, he's not tied down to a long-term deal, so all he has to do is have a great season, and a move somewhere else is definitely an option. Of course, he could move back to the UK, where he has connections, he's known, people respect him. Again, all he has to do is have a week in, week out good season. And of course, in Portugal, elsewhere, there'll be scouts looking at, well, scouts look everywhere, but the fact he's already based in Europe, he will come to the attention of other clubs in Europe. So for him and his career, it's not a bad place to be. Also, it's fair enough where he is now at Feirense to just focus on his game. He's away from distractions. Like, he grew up in London, so everything, and he played in London, everything is there for him, which is great. But when you want to focus solely, life can get in the way. So the fact he's far away from all those distractions, all he has to do now is put in the hard work, again, get the game time, get the match fitness, to the level he needs it to be, continue to develop, and by default this will alleviate injuries, which perhaps is something that he'll see as not the case, but hopefully that will the injuries will dissipate, and if and when they do, he'll know better what works for him, how to keep away from those injuries. He'll have the experience of having the downs in his career as well, and how to avoid them going forward, and it'll make him tougher as well. The initial 4 months to February to May of this year would have been a bed and down period for him in Portugal. Different league, different language, different culture, different club, different type of football. But now he will have that and all the other experiences he's had in his career to date behind him, and perhaps for the first time in his career will have had a summer and a pre-season where there is no uncertainty to what his next step is, and he knows what the season ahead entails and where he will be. So he's going to be at Feirense hopefully for the remainder of the season, and he just needs to focus on that now, and again get that week in week out football, show exactly the type of player he is, and he knows he is, get that confidence back if he's lacking in it, perhaps he isn't, and his football on the pitch will bring him to a wider audience. He's 27, yes, but he's only 27 as well, and could easily have another 10 years with the bad times in the rearview mirror, with the injuries, with a minor reset on his career. The opportunities are really limitless. The past is the past, the future is the future, but the time is now, and I'm sure he'll do it on the pitch and have a great season, and everyone in Ireland hopes so too. If you liked the video, send us a subscribe, like, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, we'll be watching.